This conference will now be recorded.
Welcome. It's the Close the Deal show once again, the business network from LA to the Bay. I'm your host, Terrence McCray. And there are so many things going on in the world in business, but what we're going to talk about today specifically with our seasoned business professionals and heavy hitters is trends that's really taking, this whole world to a whole nother level in 2020. And one of the things that I found interesting, I was watching a video with a guy named Jeremy Gushy, and he said something that really blew my mind. He said, chaos creates predictable opportunity. And right now, here we are in a major chaos in the world in regards to this COVID-19. So it allowed me to do some homework to understand, what is the biggest trends going on right now in the world. And one in particular has skyrocketed as the number one is artificial intelligence, as is everywhere. The reason AI is exploding is because its applications are very virtually limitless. And here it is right now. We're living in a time where if you're not preparing yourself to be virtual, if you're not preparing yourself to know how to move virtually, you're going to miss out on these opportunities because everyone has the ability, to create something because of virtual, and by you creating something, it can open up a door for more avenues. Another interesting trend that I found out was autonomous vehicles. It says this new category, the automobile industry dominated CS 2020. The sheer industry size and growth potential is drawing the focus on car companies and technology providers. Just recently I heard that I don't know what company it was particularly, but they're going to be flying cars in the next 10 years. Some are already prepared. And if people aren't talking about this, and if people aren't preparing themselves to, see how things are changing, they're going to be caught out of the loop. So this is why it's important to network. This is why it's important to know what's going on in the world. This is why it's important to stay abreast. So finance is one of the biggest ones. Everybody keeps, and the way it looks like paid. The way it looks like in the next 5 years or so, this is truly possible. So it's always important for us to be completely aware of what's going on because cryptocurrency is taking headways. A lot of people don't know about cryptocurrency. A lot of people don't know about the Bitcoin. They just sleeping on it and thinking, Uncle Sam dollar is gonna still be here in the next 25 years. And the way things are going, it don't look like it. So one of things that I want people to understand, you know, on the Close the Deal Show Network, you never know who you might contact with. You never know who might have some valuable information, and it's important that you stay in tune when I'm posting. Why? Is because this is a network. And people are here to actually close deals. They're not here to shuck and jive. They're here to meet some professionals who could be of benefit to them. So look out next week. The Close the Deal Show membership will be starting. So you will all get an email and check out the new website because we're going to be taking off. Okay. So our first speaker is a good friend of mine, you know, out of San Jose, Mr. Mauricio, my man.
Thank you. Thank you, my brother. Thank you. Thank you very much. And you're right, we are friends. And I like to do, before we go into heavy business, I always like to make friends and be friends with people. That way we get to understand the dynamics. So thank you very much, Terrence. I can't wait till you visit the Bay again. So I'm actually broadcasting from downtown San Jose, the Silicon Valley. Right behind me, I don't know, like, with all the smoke, you can see the logo. The Zoom headquarters is literally right behind me. Adobe headquarters is right behind me, and that's Almaden Boulevard, if you know San Jose or the Bay. So I live downtown, I play downtown, and I work downtown. So amazing what you just said right now. So I'll give a little background. I have multiple companies. I have a staffing company. We're the first responders to all the major disasters across California. So right now we're super busy. And I just launched this company right during COVID. So May 1st was when I launched it. I have background in it, so it's not like it's my first. I sold my other one, and unfortunately for them, they didn't do a non-compete. So within 60 days, I started a new company, and I'll sell that one for, you know, I can't disclose with the last one, but I'll sell it north of 20 million. So we'll work on that. And then aside from that, I also do commercial construction. We build shopping centers, car dealerships. I build Mercedes, Mini Cooper, Toyota, some private car dealerships for high-end exotic cars. Aside from that, I also have a media company, Latin Live, which would have gone public this year, and that's going to be my billion-dollar unicorn. And I share this with you, Terrence. I love what you say, because it's you never know who's in the room. So don't judge a book by its cover. Don't judge by what you see in the room, because you just never know who might be in the room. I know that I've even surprised myself a few times, where you think that the guy that looks like he's a homeless guy, that guy's a billionaire. Trust me, I know, because I've witnessed it and seen it myself. So aside from the media company, I'm also heavy in real estate development. So we build high rises. And you touched on something, a couple of things, two things that you touched that really are really important right now. If you haven't seen, it's a new on Netflix. It's called The Social Dilemma, I think it is, or it's a new on Netflix. You got to watch it. It talks about AI. It talks about all what AI can be done. It can be used for positive, and it also can be used for bad, because it pries into our personal lives. I know, because in my media company, Latin Live, we own a patent on how to target the Latino or the Latinx community, and that's how we've dominated. And we've done it through entertainment, being that we're the largest entertainment promoters across the United States for all the Latin shows. We specifically went niche. So they always say niches lead to riches. It's the truth. So find a niche, focus on your niche, and go after it. If you try to cast your net too wide, it can be detrimental, because then you lose your focus. Now you might ask, well, why do I have all these multiple companies? In my companies, I always have. I may be the workhorse of one, and then there's a workhorse. And I use terms like this not to be disrespectful, but to make an understanding that there's always going to be a strong-minded person that has to be the heart and soul of the company that runs it. So I may be involved in 5 companies. That doesn't mean that I'm the president of all of them. It just means that I'm the president of one, but co-founder of many others. And so that's important. But you touched on this on the airplanes. Well, that's already happening. They're testing cars here in the Silicon Valley. They just don't broadcast it, but there's cars that are already flying here in the Silicon Valley. Uber is already ahead of the game. We're in 4 of our building high-rise designs. We have 2 commercial towers and 2 residential towers that are going to be, we're working on downtown San Jose, and then we're working one in Jack London Square. All of them are being designed with helipads for Uber helicopters and for flying for cars, not necessarily for the cars to be so they can park them up there. But again, those are things that are happening. So so you hit it right on the money. You gotta definitely be aware of that. And then the last one you talked about is Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies. If you're not involved, I'll tell you a story, and I have to shoot myself in the foot for it. We owned a group of us. We owned about 1,000 cryptocurrencies about 14, 15. We sold them all, and when the Bitcoin blew up, honestly, guys, I want to shoot myself in the foot for this one, but it would have been worth north of $10 million worth of cryptocurrencies. And if I was to tell you how much we sold them, it's even more
A crime.
I don't want to add salt to the wound. So, but it's true. Definitely those 3 topics, flying cars, cryptocurrency, and AI are definitely things that we should start to educate ourselves, because if we can get ahead of the curve a little bit, then we won't get left behind the curve and then say, man, what if, could have, should have, and then just get stuck behind the 8 ball. So anyhow, I think I probably went over my time. I can keep talking, Terrence. I love being a part of these type of conversations. So aside from that, I published 2 books. One is called Smoke and Mirrors. That's my biography. I dominated the nightlife scene for 25 years. I did the biggest concerts here in the West Coast. I've done the biggest nightclubs in the West Coast. Entertainment was my passion since I was a kid. And then in 2008, 9, and 10, when the world turned upside down, that's when I pivoted myself. I had to reinvent myself because nightlife was not going to be the same. And now, even now, we're going through COVID. Now you can consider nightlife and concerts and all that to be somewhat. You'll never have the experience that you had in the past because of the whole social distancing and this whole stuff that we're going through. Which I have my opinions about it, and by my smile, you can tell that I don't agree with it. So, but it is what it is. We gotta play the game, and you know, obviously, this game is being played at a bigger level, but. And then aside from that, I also mentor, depending on who. I don't just take on anyone. It's got to be someone that's got an existing business with existing, you know, income and all that good stuff, so that we can see where the possibilities are. So right now I have 5 mentees that I'm working on, and since I've started taking them under my belt, I've seen their growth north of 200% in their growth of their business. And it's just basic business models that we got to implement. So. Business is business, no matter what it is that you have, what you own, or what you do. You just there's simple principles in business. It's not how much you make; it's how much you spend. So if you're making a lot and you're spending more than what you're making, then you got to switch it up a little bit. So, or you got to switch it up so that what you're making and what you're spending is lower than what you're making, so that you can see the difference. So, anyways, Terrence.
No. Mauricio, don't forget to let people know how to tune in to listen to Latin Live.
Oh yeah. So here's another. So talking about AI. So I just got penalized. You know, I launched my new show, Oye, which means open your eyes, but in Spanish it translates to listen. And we started a show about a month ago. We had our it's all celebrities, all Latin artist celebrities. I had Jen Morel, Pete Escovedo, George Lopez, Lisa, and then I had Oscar de la Hoya scheduled, Pitbull, Bad Bunny. I had all these big artists. And if you guys are watching and following what's going on Facebook, they're penalizing people if you're doing copyright infringements on music, videos, and all kinds of stuff. But their algorithm, their AI is actually screwed up. So if I played like a Spanish song, their algorithm might pick it up and think it's a country song because it heard some kind of little clip. So we get penalized for something, and then they flag you and they take your show down without any. It's like they don't forgive you, and you can't ask for permission because you don't know how to get through their system yet. So we launched the show, did 4 shows, and it got dropped. We got penalized. We're in Facebook jail for 90 days. So you can imagine that the detriment, because on my Latin Live Media channel, I have over close to 500,000 people that are following us. We got over 5 million people that are visiting our website. I got over 7,000 influencers around the world. So it's just crazy the stuff that's going on. But so I went back to the basics. I said, well, I'm going to flip the script on these guys. So I do an every Wednesday live on Facebook and YouTube, where it's just interviews. I interview entrepreneurs. I interview different people. This month is all entertainment. Next month is going to be about politics, because we're leading right up into November, and I want to make sure that people understand that it's important to get involved and to go out and vote. The black and brown vote is important in this election, and we got to get involved no matter what. I mean, all votes are important, but we really need to push and get everyone involved, because this is going to set the tone for the next 4 years. So people can't complain later about the end result if they're not satisfied with it, if they didn't get involved. And I don't want to hear it from people, because the first question is, did you vote? And they say no, then you have no room to talk. Because if you didn't vote, sorry to say that it is what it is. And for some people, they might not have the ability to vote, but as long as they get involved, that's important. So
well, thank you, Mauricio. Appreciate that, buddy.
I'm gonna hug the whole hour.
I know. Don't even worry about it. I have 4 new
people can
absolutely.
visit me.
I got 4 new cameras. I'll be doing some filming. I just got them yesterday, so we will be talking soon. Our next speaker, she's calling in. She's the president of Oakland Chamber of Commerce. Kathy Adams, you are next.
Oh, thank you so much. That's a hard act to follow. I'm almost tired, and I thought I was a crazy person with all that I do. But I want to keep it short. I'm Kathy Adams. I wear the hat of President and CEO of the Oakland African American Chamber of Commerce. And our objectives for the Chamber is to sustain and grow businesses through technical assistance, increase member profitability by providing business development opportunities. We advocate on behalf of our business community and help to create sustainable jobs. So one of the heroic things that I had the vision to create is the Oakland African American Chamber of Commerce Resiliency Fund. Our team raised over $1 million in 90 days during COVID. To date, 110 of those businesses already have the money in their account. The grants ranged from $2,500 to $10,000. We're doing our final grants this week, which is another 50 companies that will also receive anywhere between 5 and 10 grants. And we had a criteria with that. Most of them met, some fell short. And as a result, our goal is to provide financial training and accounting principles, because what is very critical with businesses right now is not really having that paperwork in order. When we talk about systemic racism, we talk about how Black-owned businesses have been marginalized. We've got to do what we need to do to invest in our communities to get our businesses ready. So I'm excited that we were able to raise the $1 million. The final funds that we have left over, maybe a little under $250,000, will go back to our businesses that are members of the Oakland African American Chamber of Commerce, and we will provide grants to those businesses. Right now, businesses need so much more. People talk about the marketing and all of that outreach and things that we need to do. We provided trainings for those from a complimentary standpoint, but at the end of the day, when you talk about what's really going to drive your business, you are going to have to spend money in order to do that. So with regard to my personal business, I've been in business for nearly 25 years, actually over 25 years, president and CEO of the CDA Consulting Group. And we are an event planning and marketing company. During COVID, we did Powerful Women of the Bay, which I created 10 years ago. That primarily represents professional women, a diverse group within the C-suite. So I feel very passionate because I actually created that, and it's celebrated every March during Women's History Month. So we were blessed to do the 10th annual on March 13th, and that's when everything started going haywire. So that was our last actual in-person event. We're currently doing one of the largest networking events, the 22nd annual Madam C.J. Walker Business and Community Recognition Awards Luncheon. That will take place on October 16th, and that is actually my first virtual huge production. And that event will include Lisa Price of Carol's daughter. She sold her company to an undisclosed amount to L'Oreal. We have actress Kim Cole, and we're also recognizing some very strong, dynamic women in our community. Leah McCowan with Salesforce, also Cheryl Grant, of which you guys may know, and then also Donna Karen and Cheryl Evans with the Human Rights Commission in San Francisco. So that's just a little bit about that event. We expect to have maybe 700 people. Typically, we get close to 1,000, but because of COVID. So when I think about my industry and where we are right now, actually, I feel that where we are right now in this unfortunate pandemic, it has allowed us to pivot in a way to be as creative as possible. And one thing about is engaging. I know when I'm on calls, if it's not exciting, my attention spans, kind of drop off. So I've learned from some of the webinars and podcasts that I've been involved with, everybody is not going to have a big bang of energy, but what they may be sharing may be of interest. So we've done our best to try to be as engaging as possible to keep people engaged in order that we can keep their attention. We're doing something really well. I'm also the founder of the National Coalition of 100 Black Women, Oakland chapter. We will be 25 years strong this coming November. So I've spent a lot of my time doing a lot of nonprofit type events because I'm very compassionate about the community, very compassionate about giving back, very compassionate about providing resources that help others. I've done major events with major celebrities prior to this, but something that comes out of everything I've done, regardless of the levels that I've been involved with, it was Bill Clinton event or Hillary, whatever. All types of entertainers. I produced a number of concerts, worked with some of the major promoters. So now as we talk about this new norm, I don't want to look at being an event planner like, oh God, how are we going to do this? But what I'm seeing right now is a community coming together, creating that level of excitement, and you're in the comforts of your home. And one thing that I see when we talk about trend, in order to make my events more enjoyable, I connected with Uber Eats. And so we'll have meals delivered to people for the event that we're doing. We had a Black vendor, and I try to use Black vendors as much as possible. And we are using this company to provide these beautiful swag bags that will be mailed to everybody to make sure that we can strengthen the package. They paid $200 for the tickets. I didn't want no refund. So I'm like, how do we make this great? How do we make this exciting? And by having music, dancers to participate, we've done everything we could to engage these people for an hour and 30 minutes, because normally the luncheon lasts longer than that. So I'm hoping that this will work well and we can see for the next events that we can do. I think that over the next, when the future is so hard to predict, if I can just think as far as next year versus within the next, 5 years ahead, there will always be a need for the business and services that we provide, because information truly is powerful, and branding and messaging is very, very critical. What I feel in terms of the service and how I can help anyone is that I have a great database. Contacts are strong. We've done almost every type of event that you could talk about. But what my passion is right now, it's not so much as my business. We're doing business, but my goal right now is to be of service to these small businesses that don't have the resources nor the connections that I've had over a 25-year history, being able to pick up the phone, having our officials on speed dial, they answer my call when I call them. And it's about the relationship and the integrity that you have when you're working with people. So while I feel very creative and have a number of skills, my priority right now is helping the Black businesses, the PPP funds. My final closing statement, the PPP funds didn't make it to the bank accounts of African American owned businesses. There was a report that was issued by SBA from June to July for like grants up to, I think, under 200,000. We were number 23 in the state, and in the entire state of California, Black businesses only got 110 businesses. So as I close, CDAconsultinggroup.com. There's only one G, and we're here. Hopefully we can be of service with the Oakland African American Chamber of Commerce. That's oaacc.org. And even if you're not a member, if we can provide resources or help you in any way, I'm here for your service. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kathy. Please make sure that you put your contact information and your social media handles inside the chat room, everyone, so people can know after they listen to you speak how to contact you. Because when you come through me, you're going to get an NDA. You didn't like that, okay? Okay. That was a joke, y'all. Everybody got to have a sense of humor. Okay. Next speaker. And before we do that, I do have to Oh, excuse me 1 second. I do have to make an acknowledgement for some of our speakers. We like to make sure that they get the plug always on the Close the Deal show. So we want to acknowledge a few of those speakers by sharing with you what they do overall professionally. So if you're interested in, say, if you're interested in branding or graphic designs, check out one of our former guest speakers, Brittany Smith.
Hey everyone, my name is Brittany Smith, CEO and founder of Brittany Smith Creative Company, and I want you to tune into the Close the Deal show with Terrence McCrae, because on that show we are going to talk about some tips and tricks that you can use to make sure that the visual identity of your brand is on point and you'll be able to close the deal. At Brittany Smith Creative Company, we provide print design, digital design, web design, copywriting, content creation, and brand strategy. We help you take your ideas to implementation in a beautiful and visual way. So if you know that you can't wait until you see me on the Close the Deal show to get these things done for your business, I want you to visit us online at www.brittnysmithcreative.com, or you can connect with us on social media on Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn at Brittany Smith Creative. Make sure you don't miss this episode of the Close the Deal show with Terrence McCrae. I will see you at the closing table.
Our next speaker is Jasmine Ramsey.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Right, well, first, thanks, Terrence, for having me on. My name is Jasmine Ransom. I'm a realtor in the San Francisco Bay Area. I work for Untitled Real Estate. We're based out of Silicon Valley, but we pretty much have a reputation in the San Francisco Bay Area, more north. But my office is located in San Francisco and Daly City. As far as what do? I make people happy. I create smiles. I change lives. I love what I do. I love helping my clients find their dream home. I love helping them find their investment properties. I tend to be very resourceful. I do not just focus only in California. Although I'm not licensed in other states, there are plenty of people that I've referred out or helped them to stay in the transaction and to we're able to get them an agent to represent them. I've had a few of those happen this year. And here I am. As far as the trends that are happening in the real estate industry, I don't know about you, but Mauricio, if I'm saying his name right, he made some really good points. Terrence made some really good points. Blockchain. I cannot urge this enough. I don't know about you guys, but I just found out this morning, second transaction closed in California, Bitcoin paid in full. So you want to have questions about it? They use BitPay. It went through Glen Cove. I believe it's called Glen Oak Escrow. It's in Southern California, but I'm waiting for something to happen up here where all tech happens. But I will be bringing this forward because there's also a major real estate transaction happening in Croatia that I think is maybe around 30 million happening in cryptocurrency. I have to get the full details on that, but I've been really following up on it. And you're talking about trends. Yeah, COVID has definitely slowed the world down, but forced us to actually hone in on what's happening in the world. My master's program that I graduated from is trying to get people to come back and get an MBA or get a specialized master's at a discount rate. Now, I'm not planning to go get a second master's. I don't need it at this point. I don't feel I need it. But I would like to share some things they talked about on this call in London. They said major industries that are going to be changing and shifting, and if you are not trying to pivot, you are going to be left behind. And I would tell you that AI was mentioned, blockchain was mentioned, digital marketing was also mentioned, brand management, and a lot of other things dealing with in the finance arena. So if you're in fintech and all in those areas of fintech and analysts and everything else, you need to be hitting in that direction because there are going to be such an abundance of jobs for those people. And now look at it, we're doing remote opportunities. So I met a woman yesterday. She was telling me how she's an event planner and she lost her job. And I said, I hope you find something soon. Guys, we're really back. I'm like, everyone's being forced to have to get really, really creative. So it's important that we keep up with the trends. We try to collaborate, which is what we're all doing here. Find out what's happening and try to see where we're going to fit in the next, 18 months, even longer, so that we can all, survive and continue to do things that we're passionate about. But I just wanted to share those things that, keeping in touch with what's happening in the industry is very important. What I've noticed is that a lot of clients are not necessarily downsizing in the Bay Area, but either A, they're trying to leave and move to Texas, go to Nevada, or they're trying to move into something much bigger. So right now I'm dealing with a couple who wants to leave San Francisco to move somewhere close out to Sacramento or Patterson. So I just find it really fascinating that everyone's trying to pivot on out. It's not about the rent so much for them. It's the space. It's the square footage. They want more freedom. So when people tell you people live in the Bay Area, please do not let it start thinking, oh my God, it's going to be a crash. I don't really think so, because if you transfer to the real estate market, transactions are still closing. They're closing every single day. Are they closing as fast as they were before with all these crazy bidding wars? Absolutely not. But I will tell you that there is a little bit of a scare in the market because it's not a lot of inventory to go around. We're still short on inventory. And it's not just in California, it's also across the United States. So anyone who's talking about real estate is about to crash, I'm not saying that I know what's going to happen in the future. None of us know what's going to happen in the future. For all we know, all actual fiat money could crash. But right now, from what I'm seeing and the driver's seat, real estate is going to actually help us to get out of this mess. That's just my opinion from what I'm seeing. Other realtors in the commercial industry, other industries, and what they're talking about in just finance. That's what it looks like. I would like to see what that looks like in 18 months to see if that's actually going to pan out to be true. But I'm just here to tell you, don't start like freaking out. If anything, if you want to take your money out the stock market, keep some in, put it in real estate in order to protect it. Another thing I want to touch on is new development. A lot of people are going into new construction. Why? Because they get a brand new home. I'm noticing a lot of buyers, because I spend a lot of time with a lot of buyers, they do not want to deal with inspections. They don't want to deal with having to pay for repairs, the termites, all that stuff, appraisal, possibly falling out of contract. They don't want to deal with the buyer. They just would literally want to go in, see something brand new, see their home built from scratch, so they can actually know what's going into the house, have full control over it, so they don't have to pay for all these ridiculous upgrades. So these are some trends I'm noticing in my area expertise. And again, I'm in the San Francisco Bay Area. My most recent transaction is getting a contract in something in Sacramento. And I just told you I'm working with another couple. They're trying to leave SF, and they're in a townhome. They want something larger, and they only have one kid, by the way. And that's all I really have to say about that with regards to real estate. What do I have going on? I would like to say I've been spending a lot of my time getting to know beautiful people like yourself. I study people. It's my job to know what's happening in the world because it affects my clients, and I need to sometimes be able to respond. And it actually warms my heart when I see so many professionals taking their craft really seriously. A lot of other people are really scrambling, and I understand it's really hard for others, but it really makes my heart smile when I get to witness and hear what's happening in your industries, because eventually it's going to trickle into mine. And I need to also know that I need to be a little bit more kind to my clients. As a lot of you may know, a lot of people think I've been hearing nowadays, they don't think real estate do anything. They feel pressured. They don't feel we actually care. Where I'm here to tell you, I do care. And I know a lot of my counterparts who actually do. We care about getting you what you want. We care about what's happening in your personal life, because real estate is all about a lifestyle. It's not just, oh, I make this transaction. I'm all about building relationship equity. That's been my word for 2020, relationship equity, because who you shake hands with, close a deal with matters, and you should keep in touch with them, because you never know how to make pan out for you later down the road. I'd like to give a quick example. Also, thank you again, Terrence. He connected me with a young woman who was actually on a Close the Deal show a few weeks ago. She had a podcast called Pretty Girls Love Real Estate. And, thanks to her, I got a chance to really talk about some ugly truths in the real estate industry that people don't like to talk about. But it's important that people know, so that, consumers can understand that realtors put so much up front to only get paid in the end. And also, most of us love what we do. This is not just a hobby. It's not gig economy. We love what we do. We love serving the community. So that's pretty much it. That's all I have. And if anyone wanted to ask me a question, I wanted to leave some room there. But thank you for having me.
But how can you be of service to someone, Jasmine?
Sorry, forgot that part. Oh, how can I be of service? Well, actually, if you have any questions about the real estate market, if you're interested in purchasing, it does not have to be in the state of California. If you just reach out to me, you let me know, or I decide, oh, Jasmine, I need a realtor. I want to go to Charlotte. It's more affordable. I can get 3 times the amount of house I can have in California. Can you assist me? The answer is yes, I can. There's no job too big. I will be involved with you through the transaction. I'm not an agent that refers you out and then I just leave you with that agent. I actually follow up. I can still actually hold your hand in a contract. I just can't write it because I'm not licensed in that state. But I'm actually willing to be there every step of the process. I did it with a friend. He got into contract on 2 properties within 1 week and paid cash. So I'm your girl. You let me know what you need. I have you. I will put you in touch with a lender. I'll put you in touch with title. I will pull a property report on the property that you may be interested in. You let me know. So I am here to serve you. Again, I love what I do, and I am here to be of service. That's how.
Well, Jasmine, I'm going to tell you one thing before you get off this webinar. Make sure you get in contact with Mrs. Harris on the webinar because she is one of the very, very important people on this webinar today. She has a company called Strive Wealth Builders, and it deals strictly with the real estate club. So make sure you contact her. She's right on here right now. She's also, just like you, a former sponsor of the webinar. So make sure you get in contact. And don't forget Renee. Renee has a podcast as well. So I'm already seeing she looking dead at you.
Okay, well,
So
thank
Miss
you.
Renee,
I'm
you
looking forward
definitely
to
want to
connecting with
contact her
everyone.
as well. You know, there's so many people on here you want to contact, but we have to go on and other people to speak. Miss Precious, you are up next.
Hi, everybody. Ladies, raise your hands if you want to be a bad bitch with a power pitch. That is me. Fellas, I didn't forget about you. Fellas, raise your hands if you want to be a bad man with a master pitching plan. That's what I'm talking about. So, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Precious Williams. I am the proud founder and CEO of Perfect Pitches by Precious. So, what does that mean? I specialize in the art and the science of the killer elevator pitch, media pitch, investor pitch, speaker pitch, and interview pitch. Now, don't take my word for it. I'm a 13-time national elevator pitch champion. Yes, I've been on Shark Tank season 8 in 2016. Yes, I even wrote the two #1 bestsellers on pitching: Bad Bitches and Power Pitches for Women Entrepreneurs and Speakers Only, and the companion book. In fact, book 3 is in production right now, the Bad Bitches Playbook. So when I tell you that I know what I'm speaking about, I really, really do. I've been a professional speaker since I was 16 years old. I am proud to say that I am 41. Yes, I'm proud to say I'm 41, not young. I'm 41 years old. I'm not new to this. I'm true to this. And what I really do is I work with Fortune 500 companies, corporate executives, successful women entrepreneurs and speakers who really want to stand out in a crowded marketplace. They want to stand out. They are tired of just doing the corporate grind and they really want to launch a book, a program, a series, something that gets them out of just being what everybody wants them to be and to truly step into their greatness. And so some of my clients right now include Microsoft, LinkedIn, Google, eBay, NBC Universal. So yeah, I'm that Black girl from the hood that actually made it. And yes, I'm from the inner city of St. Louis, Missouri. I'm a former attorney in the great state of New York, passed the bar on my first try, went to all schools on a full scholarship, and I am delighted to be here. How can I help you? If you're a speaker that's tired of being asked to speak for free and you want to get paid and you want to be booked and busy just like I am and my clients, then check me out at my website, www.perfectpitchesbyprecious.com. If you want to go to networking events and if they're virtual and you still want to bring that funk, that energy, that passion, that intensity, and you want people to remember you, and y'all gonna remember Bad Bitches and Power Pitches if y'all don't even remember my name, check me out, www.perfectpitchesbyprecious.com. Actually, on my website, when you go to it, there's a free quiz that you can take that'll teach you what type of pitcher you actually are. Are you unstoppable? Are you based on numbers? Are you are you flawed? Like all of these things matter in crafting the perfect pitch that's going to slay all competition. I did not become a 13-time national champion by just talking a good game. I know that I'm always within my time limits and I plays no games. So again, my name is Precious Williams. I am the proud founder and CEO of Perfect Pitches by Precious. And if you want to know why Fortune 500 companies, the top of the Fortune 500 companies work with me, if you want to know why I was on LinkedIn Live's new show called Business Unusual yesterday, as a Black woman who's curvy, no six-pack abs, 5'9", 230 pounds, I don't let anything stop me. I don't. And I'm not going to let anybody ever hold me back. I almost died twice in my lifetime. And so every day is a gift to me. And that's why I want to help everyone who is willing and able to want to step into their next beautiful now. Not tomorrow, their next beautiful now.
Mm.
So again, I am the author of Bad Bitches and Power Pitches. You can get this on Amazon or actually even at my website. And also, if I can make an ask of the community, I speak at so many financial services companies and real estate companies and service-based entrepreneurs and executives. If you know of people who fit that criteria, service-based entrepreneurs, service-based speakers who, are tired of just, I can't take no more free speaking engagements where I'm not going anywhere. I'll teach you how to go from not paid to booked and busy and paid. And in addition, I love speaking, I love training, and I am a corporate trainer, and I love what I do, and I'm still precious all day long. So thank you all so very much for giving me your time today. I'm going to put my links in the chat. And did I do right by time?
You did more than right. I'm wondering why you getting off. Everybody else
Oh
is
shoot, I
feeling
can
the
go,
same.
but I like listen. I don't want to take away from nobody else's time. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? And I know I'm powerful, and then I get out,
I
drop the mic.
understand. Put it this way. I'm getting texts while you talking and asking for your information.
Oh
Okay.
well, shoot! I just dropped some info, but anyway,
Yeah,
and anyway,
I'll
you all,
definitely do
I
that.
have digital products too. So even if you couldn't work with me or our schedules couldn't align, I have digital products on my website. I have Pitch Please. You heard what I said. Pitch Please. The art of the killer pitch. I can teach you how to powerfully pitch anything under the sun, anything technical, scientific, service, product. Been there, done that. And that's why the best companies in the world work with me. And when you create your own lane, you're not trying to sound like everybody else. Listen, I'm not Tony Robbins, Les Brown, Lisa Nichols. I'm not none of those people. I am Precious Williams. I'm pretty damn phenomenal. And so I want you all to step into your next beautiful now by being you, authentic, transparent. Let's do this. Let's do this in these streets and show people how it's really done. So don't show up like anybody else. Yeah, see, I got blue nails, toes are flamboyant red. It's ridiculous. I just love being me. I do. And I want you all to love being you and to show up and show out no matter where you are. Special shout out to Raina. You know I love you, girl. You know how we go. We go like beans and cornbread. Shout out to Terrence. Thank you so much. This is my second time on the show. And I actually like this time so much better because I'm really in my element now. You know what I mean? And so I really appreciate it. My business has doubled in the time of since the pandemic started. And so I have a client right now who's who's filming Shark Tank right now as we speak. So if I did Shark Tank in 2016 and she's doing it in 2020, this might be the last season. I'm just so excited to share, my gift and my talents with all of you and let you all know. Ain't no stopping us now. We on the move. Precious Williams, proud founder and CEO, Perfect Pitches by Precious. Thank you.
I know I will be seeing you on other people's shows that's on this panel today.
Listen and listen. I do television, film, documentaries. You know how we do.
Exactly.
International Woman of Mystery.
Definitely. Our next speaker is Mrs. Rose.
Hi, thanks so much, Terrence, for having me on the show. And Precious, yeah, I actually met Precious on your last show and had her on my show. We just had a wonderful time together. Her energy was, obviously, you guys you could feel her even before she came on and said a word. And so we just had a great time. And yeah, thanks for running this show, Terrence. Shows are so powerful. They're such powerful connectors. Like I said, I met Precious through this show. I interviewed Luisa Mendoza about her battle with COVID. She was on this show. We met through that. And actually, Mauricio, my show got taken off of the air because of her for a while because she had talked about healing from COVID by prayer and communion, and YouTube didn't like that, so they yanked it. And so they didn't take off just one show, they took off our entire network, and we had to start from scratch again and like, you know, come on with like 3 likes on everything. So definitely we put our art out there anyway, though, right? We tell the truth, and if they take it off, they take it off, but we're going to put the truth out there whenever we can. I had Precious come on the show, you know, and she talked into women and spirituality and bringing her faith into everything she does. And so those are kind of, so I'm known as the soul nutritionist in some circles. I also do a little bit of business aviation sustainability consulting. So I loved when you were talking about the flying cars. We actually call those EVTOLs or EVTOLs. The companies who make them don't like it being called a flying car. So, but if you want to look into investing into some of that, look into EVTOL, EVTOL. And one of the best companies I've found so far in my research, to be honest, is a German company called Volocopter. They have a lot of little rotors on it, and so it's less noise and it's more efficient. They're also using them for things like crop dusting and different ways that aren't just passengers, but air taxis, like you said, Mauricio, Uber has invested in like 8 different companies. Volocopter, I believe, is one of those. And that's definitely one of the ways of the future. And so I think sustainability is too. So I actually started a sustainability show. I think we're going to call it Access Eco. I'm definitely going to run it through October. So I know Kelly Adams, if you're still on here, you mentioned sustainable jobs in what you do for Oakland. So we actually had someone come on from Neste and the projects in Oakland that are going on to turn trash into sustainable fuels. So I'll be running that show at least through October because that's sustainability month. But then I may be focusing more on my other show. So I have 2 niches, like sustainable aviation, and I love sustainability. I think that's the wave of the future. Companies who don't hop on, like Amazon, are making commitments. These big companies are doing it. I really think that people who don't hop on with sustainability are going to become the horse drivers in a car world, right? And so we know that people who stuck with horses and they sold buggy whips, but the car came out, you know, eventually they had no one to sell their buggy whips to. So I think it's really important that we focus on a sustainable future, and we're really looking on the show, because I have a very conservative Republican audience, how sustainability is actually very profitable too. And so I'm really trying to let that Republican conservative audience know this is also a profitable sector. And Philip Morris actually had their only profitable sector this last quarter in their sustainable fuels. The rest of them were down. And so, but my main thing that I actually love the most, and what I had Precious on, is my Christian show called Soul Nutrition. And I'm actually creating a community around that. So if anybody wants to be on these shows too, definitely reach out. I'll put my contact information in the chat. I love just sharing truth on my shows, whether that's sustainability or faith. Those are kind of my 2 niches there. And I'm looking to also create a community, like an online app around more depth in faith, because I know Precious and I have talked about it a lot, but like sometimes we go to church and there's, you know, lots of hype, but maybe there's also a lot of judgment, and there's not a lot of like really feeling accepted, and there's maybe even not a lot of connection with God in some times when we go, right? And so we're thinking, why do I even go to this anymore? I'm not really feeling connected. And so I'm really working on creating a community where people can connect really deeply with God, with themselves, with each other, and have something a lot that we're all seeking, but we're not finding it in a lot of what's out there now. And so I'm working on collaborating that, and maybe an app, in a way to really connect us in a new way. I've also written a book called Sin Tastes Good. The subtitle is Nourishing the Soul in an Empty Calorie World. And so I've got a lot going on, and but the biggest thing is the shows is probably something where we could definitely have a longer conversation, share your truth with the world. And yeah, thanks, Terrence, for having me on. It's such a pleasure being on here. And again, I've connected with so many people. We've had a lot of great show guests because of this show.
Thank you, Mrs. Rose. Our next and last speaker is Carla.
Hi, I unmuted myself. Can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So my name is Carla Rocha, and I've been in the HR for about 20 years now. And my current role is HR and business operations. So I basically have been interiming as the interim COO for a company owned by, our company is owned and based out of China. However, we're about to be closing and selling within the next about 60 days. So originally we were going to restart up the company, and they decided that they're just going to go ahead and sell. So with that in mind, one of the trends that I've been monitoring has been recruiting. And anytime there's a change in the economy or anything, I always keep up with the trends. Because I want to see how that's going to impact myself, the employees, and what sort of, if there's any trainings I need to take. So I do it, one, from an educational standpoint for myself, also to be able to contribute to my organization and be prepared as much as possible. And in these current times, it just takes me back to 2008, 2010, when we had that recession. And as far as real estate is concerned, back then I worked for a financial institution. So when most of the banks, and I was at a credit union, so banks are referred to as a four-letter word, the banks started to see the impact the first 2 years. The credit union started to see more of the impact towards the last 2 to 3 years. And mainly it was because our credit union was a niche for school employees. So for that, we basically worked with them on doing extensions and just doing all kinds of creative things. So it'll be interesting, going back to what Jasmine said, to see how everything shakes out with the way the economy is right now, with the pandemic, with the elections coming up, because depending on who wins is obviously going to impact everybody. Whether taxes go up, taxes go down, businesses decide to move out of state. It's unfortunate to hear, I'm sorry, I forgot who mentioned that, it is Kathy, that there were so many Black-owned businesses that hadn't even received the loans. So when you have a company and you have employees and you can't pay them, then you end up having to have layoffs. The other thing is, I believe employers right now, and I've experienced it myself, so ghosting. One of those things for me is you have different levels of recruitment. You have your entry-level employees, your mid-level, your senior level. I've recruited for CEOs. I've recruited for attorneys for the companies that I've worked for. Everything from your janitors and up. For myself and any of the leaders that I've worked with, my training has always, first and foremost, has always been, you've got to communicate. Whether that's the candidate, whether you decided to, bypass them, you just have to send them an email or let me know and I'll communicate. It is never good and it's never acceptable, nor is it professional to ghost somebody. Regardless if you were recruiting somebody that doesn't speak English, that's going to be mopping your floors. Because in a food facility, if you do not have your sanitation protocols in place, you will be shut down and you will not be able to operate. So it's really interesting when a lot of these positions are basically just, they're irrelevant. It's the housekeeper. It's just the cook. We don't need to communicate with them the way we would with the CEO. And I've been very fortunate to work for several senior leaders that have always been forthcoming and said, I don't know how to deliver that message, or can I practice with you? How does that sound? Is it too abrupt? So you have to tailor your message. But when it goes back to ghosting, it's specifically if you're going to ghost somebody in HR and you're a recruiter, a service provider of recruitment services, you basically breach the opportunity to partner with that person down the line. Because ultimately, when you're in HR, you're the gatekeeper and you will have a lot of control and say on which companies or agencies that you partner with. So the one thing that HR professionals never forget is who did not get back to you. Because then I reenact, let's just say I am working with an agency and I've interacted with them before where they didn't get back to me, then I might be hesitant to partner with them because they're going to, in essence, make me look bad when I can't meet the deadline from a staffing standpoint. So again, I think a lot of people put a lot of emphasis on, oh, I work for this company, so if this is how we act, this is going to be acceptable. Your name is your name. I'm Carla, and so the one thing my uneducated grandma raised me is your morals, your values, your beliefs. That's you. Nothing can buy you. So if somebody expects you to act a certain way and it's not a good fit, then you need to start looking. The other thing is don't sell yourself. And what's really astonishing to me is I recently had an interview with a senior lady of a company, and she said to me, you know, I'm really reluctant in moving forward with you with having you take the test because I feel you're overqualified, and in essence, you're going to eventually want my role. And I really didn't know how to respond to that because I thought, well, if I was in your shoes, one, I would have never really said that. But two, if you're planning on retiring in 2 years, then why wouldn't you want to groom somebody? The other thing she said is, I'll definitely let you know what sort of educational things we'd like to pay for, but we have control over when we get started. Our company is always priority, and I'm thinking, well, I do have a life outside of these four walls, and you don't get to control my educational pursuits. Needless to say, I was just going through the flow because I like to I read all these articles on being ghosted or on how unprofessional people are being, or how employers are overly taxing their employees by having them work from home and sort of being abusive and wage and hours just kind of going out the window. And so I just went through the process. So she asked me to come back. I took 8 tests, 8. And ultimately she called me and said, oh, the leadership one actually registered exactly how I thought, that you were overqualified.
So Carla, how could you be of service to someone on the webinar today?
So I could be of service to anybody on the webinar, whether if you want to run something by, if you have a family member that's maybe struggling to get a job and need their resume revamped, or if anybody has any specific HR-driven projects that they want to review with me. I also do consulting. I've done them more for the small and mid-sized companies. But again, this is a really good forum just because it's a very unique situation that everyone's in due to the pandemic. And I just think everyone needs to still be positive, but don't forget to communicate, because that still is it's going to be the number one deal breaker. And you just can't let somebody else tell you that if you're overqualified, then that's fine. I take no offense to that. In fact, it's a compliment. I didn't get my master's to sit there and as my mom said, well, maybe you just need to ask some a little bit next time. I was just like, Mom, do not ever
That's
repeat
right.
the words
Definitely.
or
Definitely.
my daughter. I said that is why we still haven't broken the ceiling significantly, because women are still expected to, well, just ask. I said, oh my God, Mom, so that's my 2 cents for today, guys.
Well, thank you. Make sure you put your contact information inside the chat room. Before we close this deal, during COVID-19, a lot of people had the opportunity to read a lot of books. So there's one in particular that if you're interested in learning more about, I definitely want to share it with you. And this is a good book for everyone to basically get a bar of.
I'm Spencer Christian from ABC 7 News in San Francisco with a quick word about supportive networking. I first met Terrence McCrae through a referral, which led to a friendship and mentorship. And then I had the great pleasure of appearing with Terrence on the Close the Deal show to talk about my life story and my career experiences, which I vividly describe in my book, You Bet Your Life, How I survived Jim Crow racism, hurricane chasing, and gambling. See how useful networking can be? So when you make a new contact, make the most of it. Be supportive. It can pay off both personally and professionally.
Absolutely. It not only can pay off, it can open up more doors and more opportunity and create a new life and a new way of how you approach doing business. I want to thank you all not only for just tuning in today, but I want to thank you all for making the decision to be a part of the Close the Deal Show Business Network. And the reason being is you might not have had the opportunity to meet the people that you met today. So it is great seeing you all, but it's more greater seeing you all come back. But if you want to watch the Close the Deal show, old pre-recorded shows, you can watch it in San Francisco on cable Comcast channel 29 on Monday nights at 8:30. You can streamline it on 29 period SFC period TV. But if you also want to watch it here in Los Angeles on Pasadena Media on Spectrum Cable channel 32, 36, and AT&T Uverse channel 99. But if you want to book you a show, and I mean a paid show, you can take this opportunity to reach out to me at the Close the Deal Show at gmail.com. The reason being is the Close the Deal Show now is on Apple TV. It's on Roku and Amazon Fire Stick under Pasadena Media. And I just purchased 4 brand new cameras. So if you're looking and I'm coming to your city, whether you're in the Bay Area or New York or anywhere in this state, and you want to book an interview and you want people to know about your brand, reach me at the Close the Deal Show, okay, at gmail.com. The Close the Deal Show at gmail.com, okay. Also, keep in mind, please be a follower of the Close the Deal Show Business Network. And when you book me as an interview, I will put not only a free advertisement on the Close the Deal Show Business LinkedIn page, but I will also put it in your commercial that you will be paying for through your interview. So don't hesitate to reach out, to stay in contact, but to network on this platform. So I want to thank you all for tuning in today. This will resume the first half of the Close the Deal Show webinar series. Our second half will start up at 12:30 p.m. Take good care, everyone. I will leave the window open long enough for you to get the information inside the chat room. Deetra, I will definitely reach out to you. I will call you later.
Sounds good. Thank you, Terrence. It's a pleasure
Absolutely.
just being a part of your show today.
Thank you for tuning in, Carl.
All right, thank you. Thank you. This was highly informative. There's a few people I'm definitely going to reach out and contact, if not everyone. Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you.
This conference will now be recorded.
Welcome to the Close the Deal Show Business Network. I'm your host, Terrence McCray. And this week on the Close the Deal Show, we're going to be talking about trends that's occurring in 2020, as well as business professionals sharing their insight. But what was interesting to me that brought about this particular topic was I was watching a video of this guy named Jeremy Gushy, And he said something that was very amazing. He said, chaos creates predictable opportunity. And with COVID-19 right now, there's a lot of chaos, but a lot of people don't understand the opportunity that's available out there for them in the workforce, in entrepreneurism. So this is how this actual platform was created to address this type of particular issue where people can network, learn, and figure out new ideas and ways. And the trends are the basically the stepping stone to the future. And one particular trend is number one right now, artificial intelligence. It said AI is everywhere. The reason AI is exploding is because its applications are virtually limitless. And nowadays, most people didn't realize that when they developed a business plan, they didn't have an exit strategy. They didn't know that AI was going to take off. They was unaware of which way to go. So they're looking for new ways to pivot. They're looking for new ways to collaborate. But are they behind? No, I wouldn't say they're behind, but they may not be in a better position that they once could have been. And also is auto, autonomous vehicles. This is an area in which, in 2020 is becoming a major trend. This new category of the automobile industry dominated CES 2020. The sheer industry size and growth potential is drawing the focus on car companies and technology providers. And I'm talking about people that don't know that in the next 5 or 10 years, don't be surprised if you see a flying car in the air. Okay. Don't be surprised at all because these opportunities are available for people to find out more about, but these opportunities are things people are going to have to really educate themselves on. Another thing in particular is finance. I have an expert on here today that will talk about that, but will continue to decentralize, meaning a lot of people don't know about cryptocurrency, don't know about Bitcoin. They don't know about these opportunities and they want to take full advantage of it. But if they don't become educated on it, they'll be left behind. So for our next speaker and first of the day, I'm going to allow Vanita Lee Tatum to speak first and share her insight on these particular trends and her skill set. Vanita?
Great. Thank you, Terrence, and good afternoon, everyone. Really excited to be here and be back as a presenter and just to connect. I can't wait to listen and learn from your presentations and learn more about your expertise. But I would love to share mine. So as Terrence mentioned, my name is Vanita Lee Tatum. I'm the owner of Vanita Lee Tatum Consulting. Essentially, I am a visual artist. I'm an entrepreneurship educator and a business developer. I help women of color, entrepreneurs, and creative entrepreneurs in the startups phase develop, launch, and grow their small business. And so I come to you from a background in business banking and small business banking. I was a VP. I came through the ranks of top organizations like Wells Fargo, Chase, and Bank of America. And I experienced corporate burnout in 2016. And that prompted me to shift, to pivot the way I was doing things. And I'm now a business consultant. And so some of the interesting trends that are happening in my industry, as I mentioned, I work primarily with women of color and creative entrepreneurs. There is an increase in the numbers of women of color owned businesses. So just to give you an idea of what that looks like, there's currently 7 million women-owned businesses in the United States. Women of color are at about 44% ownership, so nearly half. And then to take it a step further, Black women are at nearly 70% of women-owned businesses in the United States. And that gets my attention. In my career, I supported many different types of entrepreneurs. And as a Black female entrepreneur, it's important for me to provide my expertise to help others who want to take that step, that journey in life. And so anyhow, what I do, I specialize in several different areas, but business development is one of them. I focus on small business financial strategy and education, branding, partnership development, and community engagement. Those are the things that I enjoy. So naturally, I'm able to help my clients to organize and achieve in those spaces in their businesses as well. So yeah, lots of things are shifting. In addition to the numbers that have changed with women-owned businesses, women of color-owned businesses, there's this trend around doing business virtually, which means that we have to create a virtual presence. We may not be able to interact face-to-face. So that online presence, that virtual branding, that's something that's really big. And I've been helping clients to get prepared and to change the world and look good while doing it online. So I have, just really quickly, I like to share my contact information. And what I'm asking clients to do is I'm trying to share my screen while I'm talking, guys, pardon me, to reach out to me and utilize my business as a resource. I think I have, this is my contact information. And for those of you on the call, those professionals out there, whether you're an entrepreneur or not, especially if you're not, like I was a professional from a different background, asking if you could pursue any business idea or venture, what would it be? Come from a space of creativity. I mentioned I'm a visual artist. I became an artist after going through that burnout and emerged as a completely different consciousness. And now that's impacting the way I do business and the way that I'm able to serve and help change the world. So my website, VanitaLeeTatum.com. I'm on all social media platforms at Vanita Lee Tatum. And so nice to meet all of you. Thank you. So I'm trying to stop sharing. I'm new to this platform. Terrence, if you can help me.
Terrence, I think you're on mute.
You're absolutely right. My apologies. You should go where the three dots are. You should be able to exit out. Where you press the screen and stop sharing.
Actually don't see, well, for me, the three dots don't have that. It just says about, go to meeting. I apologize, everyone. Yeah, I have no idea how to, I'm just gonna probably leave and come back if that's okay. But please.
Okay, well, come right back because I have a question for you.
Oh, well, let's answer that now.
Well, it's on video.
Oh, no problem. Okay, stay tuned. Thanks, guys.
All right. As soon as she come right back, in the meantime, I will, did you exit it? Because I wanted to share my screen and I can show a quick commercial. Okay. Absolutely. If you are looking for branding, or if you're looking to get a graphic designer, check out Brittany.
Hey everyone, my name is Brittany Smith, CEO and founder of Brittany Smith Creative Company, and I want you to tune into the Close the Deal show with Terrence McCray, because on that show we are going to talk about some tips and tricks that you can use to make sure that the visual identity of your brand is on point and you'll be able to close the deal. At Brittany Smith Creative Company, we provide print design, digital design, web design, copywriting, content creation, and brand strategy. We help you take your ideas to implementation in a beautiful and visual way. So if you know that you can't wait until you see me on the Close the Deal show to get these things done for your business, I want you to visit us online at www.brittnysmithcreative.com, or you can connect with us on social media on Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn at Brittany Smith Creative. Make sure you don't miss this episode of the Close the Deal Show with Terrence McCray. I will see you at the closing table.
Yes, you will. Absolutely. So, Vanita, I do have a question for you. So, I want to share the screen quickly again one more time. This question is for you, Vanita.
Hi, Vanita. My name is James Driscoll, and I work in privacy at Google. I also sit on the board of the Commonwealth Club, and I was wondering if you could share what funding options are available for non-essential businesses affected by COVID-19. And furthermore, if you have an idea of whether the government might expand the criteria for supporting these businesses. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, fantastic. So there are many resources and funding opportunities available for non-essential businesses. And, you know, during this COVID season, a lot more resources started to surface. And I've been encouraging clients to seek out grant opportunities for their business, especially during this time of transition. I mentioned that I work with women of color entrepreneurs and creative entrepreneurs. And I myself received a business grant over the summer because I'm an artist and I'm in this entrepreneurship space and I'm a woman of color. So I actually have a resource guide that I will share. I'll post the link in the chat. And I'm going to release a blog post pretty soon with some funding options and opportunities. But I think in terms of changes in the industry and the way that guidelines should follow suit, sometimes those things become a little bit clunky. And what I'm thinking about is coming from a background and working in the banking and lending space, regulations, they don't always keep up with the times. And so I'm encouraging small businesses to seek out non-traditional options for financing, like in addition to grants, micro lending. There's micro lending platforms and organizations out there like Opportunity Fund, Kiva, which is a crowdfunding source for women of color in business online. So there's plenty of different options available. And as I mentioned, I'll share the resource guide I created, and hopefully that'll provide more insights for those who are seeking.
Well, thank you, Vanita. Our next speaker, my man, Mr. Cepeda.
Good day to everyone. Thank you, Terrence, for having me on board. Actually, I got the opportunity to sit in on the first half of today's show, and I was actually pretty blown away with all the information, all the guest speakers that were on, and just all the nuggets that they were sharing. And so I'm actually, hoping that I could provide us some value today, and also I'm looking forward to hearing the rest of the speakers and be able to absorb some of that information myself. Because the reality is that there's a lot of changes. 2020 has been one of those crazy years for pretty much everyone. I personally, again, my name is Enrique Zepeda. I'm in financial service. I'm in the financial service industry. I've been in the industry for 12 years. And when I actually incorporated my company in 2016, it was one of those things that, why are we doing this? Why do you want to be an entrepreneur? Why do you want to go into business for yourself? And for me, it was really the fact that I wanted to continue to service a niche market. When I started this industry with my practice company, I was working with educators, and I fell in love with the concept and the idea of being able to empower educators with their financial structure, being able to provide them with the financial literacy. Because one of the things as an individual growing up, I quickly realized that, our educational system, unfortunately, shows us how to work for money, but no one's really showing us how to make our money work for us, if that makes sense, right? And I realized that the topic of money wasn't really complicated. It's that topic that we do everything from education to career decisions, pretty much everything. Why? Because the financial or money is a tool. It's a tool that gives us that we're able to utilize the leverage, but yet it's that one topic that we know the least amount about. And so when my practice company decided that they no longer feel that it was a vested interest to them from a profitability standpoint to work with educators, I decided at that point that that's where I needed to part ways, and EZ Financial came into place, since. And this year, just the need for the awareness on financial literacy and the lack of education on the matter has been very huge for me, because our industry, just like our world and our society, is changing from one day to another, right? Just like technology. And one of the things that I realized about business in general is you're able to identify your niche market, even though you want to be able to, as a business owner, you want to be able to consume business from everywhere. But ideally, for me, what has been more successful is that if you find a niche market and you stick to your niche market, and you stick to what you're passionate about, it seems like everything just kind of comes together for you. You're able to kind of build on that reputation. You're able to build your identity and your credibility in that realm, and it just kind of ultimately just things come together. Why? Because in 2020, two things had happened that took place in the financial industry, where one, we really quickly realized about panic shopping, right? We saw it with the toilet papers, we saw it with all the the cleaning supplies, and the same thing took place with life insurance, right? Because no one wanted to know, but it's really like Terrence said earlier, it all has to do with artificial intelligence, the AIs and everything that how people are utilizing marketing, social media. And it almost feels like, to an extent, and not in a bad intentional way, but ultimately that's the way it's playing out, that people are almost being manipulated to believe what marketing and advertisement wants them to believe. So it's almost where you have to be able to predict and be able to perceive what's around the corner, and take that same concepts of the AIs and utilize them for, I guess, for a better good, like being able to provide the financial literacy and the financial education that's very important to most households, right? Why? Because reality is that not everyone wants to be an entrepreneur, right? We're obviously here in this meet today because we're a little bit, maybe consider a little bit more ambitious, right? We have goals for what we want for our personal self, but that doesn't really mean that that's what everyone wants, right? There's individuals that just want to go to work, come home, spend time with their family, and make ends meet. So what our focus has been ultimately is that, how do we empower individuals or the average household to live wealthy but live within their means? And so I quickly realized that what we do from a service standpoint, there's nothing unique, because there's over 4,000 companies in our industry that are able to provide the same services. So our educational approach became very important as to our call of action, because if we're able to grab the average individual and teach them the right concept about work, making more money, saving more money, being able to utilize their credit, their credit in the right way, to where they're able to use that as leverage and not get in debt, utilizing the right vehicles when it comes to college funds, and understanding all the good and the bad, like pros and cons, then and most importantly, we're able to teach them to live within their means. Then they're able to also live a wealthy lifestyle and have all the peace of mind when it comes to the financial concerns that the average households have, because that is the number one stressors. And then with the stressors, you also have the impact of health and everything else in between, right? So we actually launched a campaign last year called Financial Fitness, because individuals at the end of the day we feel that we all want to live longer, right? But their biggest concern nowadays isn't the fear of dying anymore. It's the fear of outliving their money. And so how do we take care of it? How do we protect of ourselves, our responsibilities, and our income, as we're going through two phases in our life? The number one is going to be in your younger years. You're going through the accumulation process, right? You're in the process of, you're in the hunt. You're in the process of building wealth, but you might not have it yet, but you have a lot of responsibilities. So making sure that income replacement protection is important. But in your later years, let's just say you hit every financial milestone that you set to achieve. Now you're living in your distribution process, right? Now there's going to be a point in time, because of age and health, that okay, I can no longer work, and I want to make sure, like, I got to hang it up and retire, and wants to ensure that I have enough income to last me on a monthly basis to live comfortable for the rest of my life. Make sense? And as far as in where we came from 5 years ago to where we're heading, our traditional business had been word of mouth referrals. We conducted business kneecap to kneecap, and that's changed. That evolved just in overnight in 2020, where we've all taken over the virtual platform, right? So getting comfortable, being able to try to master it as much as you possibly can, as fast as you possibly can, it's going to be crucial to your business, because one of the key things, one of the biggest advice that was given to me that I could pass on to you, is that we need to understand that there's a generational gap or the generational difference in our society. And so being able to care to the baby boomers, to the Gen X, to the millennials, it's everyone has a different styles, where I still have my kneecap to kneecap appointments that I'm still doing that. It's usually by baby boomers. Everyone else, which works from a business standpoint, where you're able to run a virtual workshop on different topics, it's easier for everybody to log on from their device. You're able to provide that same information to the masses instead of doing one-by-one appointment, and kind of let the chips fall where they may, but also be able to understand that based on the generational differences, everyone's reality is a little bit different when it comes to the services that you might be providing. So ultimately, being able to identify what is their reality, it's going to allow you to navigate the different direction, and you might have to put out the same message in different tones, with maybe just a little bit of a spin, in order to have a meaningful impact just on the generational difference, right? And the last thing is that our industry in the financial world has changed. In cryptocurrency, like Terrence said earlier, cryptocurrency, it's huge. There's a dynamic, and I'll leave you with this. Individuals come to me all the time about investing, about cryptocurrency, and reality is that on some level, there has to be some type of educational growth. And so that's why I told the individuals, look, everything that we've done up to our point in life, from your associations, from the books you read, your decisions, has yielded the results that we have today. And if you're okay with those results, then keep doing what you're doing. But if you're not, there's a big component that needs to change, and that's us. We have to learn how to grow. Because if you don't grow as individuals, then you miss the opportunity to identify opportunities. Like cryptocurrency, it's a powerful, but it's not for everyone. Just like stock and mutual funds and certain investment fields, they're powerful, great tools, great vehicles, but they're not for everyone because of the lack of education if you don't understand it. So in other words, what works for someone doesn't work for some. So you have to feel right about it. You have to it has to feel right in sit well in your gut in order to make the decision that is an opportunity that you want to take. Because people always ask me for my advice, and I tell them what works for me might not work for you. So you have to be able to grow. So that has been our biggest focus for 2020 going into the future, as far as where our industry is heading, is that our consumers are gonna have to grow just as we grown as individuals, entrepreneurs that are trying to set a next milestone. Because if not, they're going to continue to make if there is no growth, they're going to continue to make the same mistakes that we've made up to this point in time. Make sense? Yes, well, that's all I have, Terrence. Thank you again, and hopefully that kind of encompasses a little bit of who I am and what I'm passionate about. But I thank you all for having me on board tonight.
Absolutely. But before you go, I do have one more question, Mr. Cepeda. Hypothetically, I got $75,000. What should I invest it in right now?
Well, 75,000, if you have it, again, it all falls into what you're willing to take on as responsibility, because it could be, and also your risk tolerance is going to be crucial. Because reality is that you could invest into the market, you could invest into real estate, you could invest into a business. There's so many things that you can invest, but it has to feel right for you, and you have to be willing to go through the ups and downs, and you have to be willing to deal with the responsibility. But there is I don't believe in no such thing as out of sight, out of mind when it comes to investment. It does require some form of engagement, and you have to be willing to be engaged in order to see it through.
Okay, definitely. I will definitely follow up with you. Our next speaker, my mentor, Miss Linnell Bevels.
Get myself off mute. Good morning or good afternoon. How is everyone doing? Oh, I can't hear you, Terrence. But anyway, good, good,
Great.
good, good, good. So listen, Terrence, I'm Terrence's mentor. He self-designated me as his mentor. I'm learning from him, so it goes both ways. But again, my name is Linnell Bevels. I recently joined Mason McDuffie Mortgage Corporation as a branch manager like 2 weeks ago. So don't ask me any questions that I'm not able to answer. I just got here. But all that said, I've been in the mortgage industry for 30 plus years. I started as a processor, office administrative type role. I became a licensed real estate agent at 19 because the broker that I was working with at the time out in East Palo Alto was also, in addition to selling homes and originating mortgages, he was also building new homes in East Palo Alto. And at that time, in the early 90s, it was kind of one of the very first new housing developments in years, and so that was a really big deal back then. And so I like to say that I had a very robust kind of industry experience early on at 19, 20. And one of the things that I always say is that at that age, I really didn't feel like I knew much about selling real estate. Like, what did I know about selling real estate? I didn't own anything. I bought a car at 19, but so I pretty much gravitated more towards the lending side because, with that particular aspect of the transaction, it's more about you being able to interpret the guidelines required to help your clients, position themselves to qualify for a mortgage. And that was something that I could do. I could read and understand, right? Um, and so while I did sell some real estate in those early days, those early years, I've primarily been on the mortgage side my entire 30-year career. And so one of the things that I'm really excited about is having joined Mason McDuffie very recently. I was not looking for an opportunity at the time, but you have to stay ready so you don't have to get ready, right? And so I was ready for the leadership opportunity when it was presented to me. And I think that with the climate in the country right now, all of the COVID-19 as well as all the unrest has certainly created opportunities for um, women of color, people of color, but certainly women of color. And my original kind of response was, "Don't pick me." As I was sharing with just Siri earlier, we were on another call on a different platform, right? Um, but I slept on it, and I just thought, you know what, this is a time when opportunity is presented, you really have to say yes, call on me, and I'm going to take that on because that opportunity may not present itself. And so I'm excited. I'm excited to be here. I love the Close the Deal show. The platform is fantastic. I've certainly had an opportunity to participate in a number of, Terrence's presentations. I wanted to speak to one of the questions that was asked earlier. It's my other hat, which is I'm the director of community engagement with the Oakland African American Chamber of Commerce. And there are quite a few resources for entrepreneurs, and not just uh, artists and female entrepreneurs, but all entrepreneurs, a lot of them small businesses, and a lot of them, quite frankly, minority. And through the Oakland African American Chamber of Commerce, if you visit their website, which is oaacc.org, or just Google Oakland African American Chamber of Commerce, if you visit their website, you'll see that one, we actually have a resiliency program that was developed in June, in response to the fallout from the PPP that the SBA had developed for small businesses, but we found out that it wasn't necessarily available to many small businesses of color. And so we created a resiliency program in between June and I think late August, late August, we raised over $1 million. And I'm not sure, Vanita, I know you're a chamber member, correct? I think you're a chamber member. Did you apply for those funds? You're on mute.
Yeah, I did apply for those funds.
Okay.
I did,
Oh,
and
good.
it was really eye-opening.
Good. So those funds are, as I understand, more funds are going to be available because we raised more than the $1 million goal. And so I would encourage those of you who are entrepreneurs, no matter what you're doing, to check out the chamber. Also within the website, there's like a list. There's like, I don't know, 100 different, resources for funding for small businesses. And Vanita talked about the Opportunity Fund, which is a huge channel to get funding from. And so we have it all kind of housed in one spot on our website. So hopefully that adds additional value to what Vanita shared. But outside of that, if you know anyone who's looking to refinance because rates are historically low, as indicated yet again from the Federal Reserve, where they decided yet again to keep, rates at all-time low. That was this morning. If you know anyone, certainly keep me in mind. Like I said, I've been doing this over 30 years. I've helped any number of people refinance for any number of reasons, pulling cash out to do a renovation, pulling cash out to pay for student loans, whatever the case may be, as well as people who are looking to purchase. There's a huge push to help more minorities get into homes. It's always been like that, but it's even more of a huge push this year. So keep me in mind. I will make sure that my information is in the chat. And thank you so much, Terrence. This is always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure having you, mentor. And tell the hubby I said hi. Our next speaker is a colleague. This woman has a phenomenal show. I learned tips from her. This woman is a visionary, very articulate. Format is better than Charlie Rose. She's the real deal, Miss Jazari Jenkins.
Thank you. Wow, what an introduction. Oh my goodness. Thank you for having me on the Close the Deal show. And let me just tell you guys a little bit about me. I'm Jasiri, and I am the host, the creator, editor, producer of Just Seriously Speaking. And the idea behind Just Seriously Speaking is that we seriously speak with people who are fearlessly pursuing their purpose. And the idea for the show came to me in 2016 when I was kind of on my own path of trying to figure out why I found so much dissatisfaction with my work and how I can kind of add extra focus to the things that impassioned me. And one thing was actually spotlighting other people who had successfully followed their purpose and were not thrown off of their track when trying to achieve their goals. And so I shot a couple of shows in 2016 and I was not happy with any of them. And so I put the show on hold and I moved back home to Pasadena in 2018, and Pasadena Media had the perfect setup, had the perfect environment, great team of people. And I felt like I had more focus on what I wanted to do and how I wanted it to look, how I wanted to be presented as well. And so I restarted, and here we are in 2020. I have, a few shows under my belt. We have actually a whole lineup of new guests for, through to the end of the year. Obviously with COVID, it kind of put things on a hold and I kind of had to rethink like what I wanted the show to be. Because as Terrence mentioned, the Charlie Rose show is kind of the basis for my setup. And so there's something about being in the studio and being with the person that you're dealing with. But obviously with COVID, we're dealing with different circumstances and, we have to pivot. And so that's kind of where I am at right now is just meeting my guests where they are at, and we're doing Zoom interviews. Some people are willing to come in the studio, which is great too. And, we make sure we stay masked up and social distancing and all that good stuff. But we're going to keep on moving with the show. So I don't know what else you would like me to discuss, but.
Well, I would like for all three former guests that just spoke to discuss how can you be of service to someone here today?
So I know for me personally, I mean, you guys are amazing and would totally fit the bill for the type of guests that I like to have on my show. So, you know, that's one thing I'm absolutely always open to. If you're not personally interested in being on camera and being interviewed, if you know people who are just standout folks who just focus on their goal, have a really cool story. And also I like to get those people who aren't good at self-promotion because, you know, having a conversation is sometimes easier and it's still promoting yourself, but it's easier than shooting a commercial or, you know, making some sort of ad for yourself. So if you guys are interested, my email is justseriously.speaking@gmail.com, and you can find me on Instagram.
We lost you. She actually hit the wrong button. There you go. Can't hear you.
Sorry.
All right.
At Just Seriously Speaking, that's my handle on Instagram.
Yeah, definitely put it in the chat room so people can get